How do you pronounce the name of the town in England that's spelt Godmanchester? You'd never guess. After my first video on the weird pronunciation of UK place names, there's been a great demand for a second installment, so here it is. Some of the place names in this video, like the one I just mentioned, have been suggested by some of you English nuts out there. Do watch and listen, and do subscribe to The English Nut. Thanks. If you go to England, don't assume that what seems like the logical pronunciation of a place name based on its spelling is necessarily the correct one. For example, the town in Lancashire that you might think is pronounced Bar-nulds-wick based on its spelling is actually pronounced Barlick, and the village in Devon which looks like it should be pronounced Woolsery is pronounced Woolsery. If you go to the historic county situated in the West Midlands region of England with the name spelt Worcester-shire, do not pronounce it as Wurr-cess-turr-sha-yer. It's Worcestershire. Perfectly logical, right? Even if you don't travel to Worcestershire, you could send your taste buds on a taste trip with Worcestershire sauce, a condiment from the town of Worcester that is now available all over the world. This sauce was created in the early 19th century by the chemists John Wheely Lee and William Henry Perrins, who founded the company called Lee and Perrins, which manufactures the sauce even today as a subsidiary of another company. However, the company does not own the trademark to Worcestershire sauce, as the English High Court of Justice ruled in 1876 that it was a generic term, which means that other companies too are allowed to use the name. Deviled eggs, a dish I've covered in another video, tastes great with Worcestershire sauce. The sauce also adds flavor to one of my favorite drinks, the Bloody Mary. Which brings me to another place famous for a food item, Shrewsbury in Shropshire County. Even the people who live there are divided as to the correct pronunciation. Is it Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury? Residents have got into fights about it, and they have conducted polls to settle the matter. It seems that a majority believe that it should be Shrewsbury. They say that only posh people or outsiders call it Shrewsbury. One argument they offer to support their point of view is that Shakespeare wrote The Taming of the Shrew, not The Taming of the Shrew. The town of Shrewsbury is known for its Shrewsbury biscuits, which evolved from Shrewsbury cakes. These cakes were around at least as far back as 1602. Far away from England, the town of Pune near Mumbai is also famous for its Shrewsbury biscuits. Kayani Bakery, which had shut down, was reopened by popular demand because people just couldn't do without their Shrewsbury biscuits. I have never had Shrewsbury biscuits from Shrewsbury, but the ones from Pune are quite nice. And I'm told that they taste better than the original ones from England. And then, of course, there's Oswald Twistle, except it's Ozzel-tissel. This town is in a borough of Lancashire, not Lancashire, Lancashire. You come across the word borough a lot in England. It means a town or district that is an administrative unit, and its pronunciation may not be what you'd expect from the spelling. But coming back to Ozzel-tissel, it was home to James Hargreaves, the inventor of the spinning jenny, the multi-spindle spinning frame that helped industrialize textile manufacturing. Why are these British place names pronounced so differently from their spellings? Well, in part because of the influence of the pronunciation patterns of the different languages and dialects that have shaped English, but also for the reason we pronounce the middle of the week not as Wednesday but as Wednesday, or library as library. The formal term for this linguistic process is elision. It is the removal of one or more sounds from a word or phrase. You elide certain sounds from a word, such as the D and E from Wednesday or the R from library, to make it simpler and quicker to say. And the British obviously love to elide the names of places, which is why a place that is spelled Codmanchester is pronounced Gumster. If you visit London's second largest garden square, don't pronounce it as Grosvenor Square but as Grosvenor Square. Developed by British aristocrat Sir Richard Grosvenor in the early 18th century, it became one of the most fashionable residential addresses in London. Its central garden, which eventually became a public park, is the square in Grosvenor Square. Writer Oscar Wilde lived in Grosvenor Square between 1883 and 1884. He mentions the place in 4 of his works. In his famous play The Importance of Being Earnest, the character Lady Bracknell says, "The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square." Of course, if Lady Bracknell were around today, she would get into trouble if she made such a politically incorrect statement in public. Okay, before we wrap up, here's a quick quiz. I'll spell out some UK place names. You guess how they're pronounced. 1. Teignmouth. 2. Bicester. 3. Southdwell. 4. Happisburgh. 5. Ruislip. And here are the answers. 1. It's not pronounced Teignmouth but Teignmouth. 2. It's not pronounced Bicester but Bister. 3. It's not Southwell but Southwell. 4. It's not Happisburgh but Haysborough. 5. It's not Ruislip but Ruislip. If you know of a UK place name with an unexpected pronunciation, do write it below. Do subscribe to The English Nut on YouTube and do click on the bell icon too, so you're notified as soon as I release a new video. I'm The English Nut. Bye for now.